We're on the same
When I
side.
woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
One about the past and one about the future.
And we are back.
We're just here.
We're here?
Yeah, why would we? What were we coming back for?
I don't know.
Yeah, where'd we
I
go?
mean, it's totally different day.
We walked out.
Everybody's obviously wearing different things. You know.
Yeah.
So we're wearing clothes at Draftvice.
We have it's in our contract. I have to show up in this shirt every time.
Draftvice, where you can definitely count on no continuity issues.
Nope. Anyway, so wide receivers, right? That's what we were doing the last episode.
Was it?
I think it
It was
was.
so long ago, I don't remember.
Dude, it's
It's like,
been a minute.
It's been a week.
That walk out of the doorway and back in. Let me tell you.
Yeah. And we did like the top 17 receivers, and now we're gonna do some other, I guess, like top 40 guys. Some honorable mentions, guys who might be in that wide receiver 2 range, guys you might be targeting in drafts.
Is this like in no particular order? Maybe some sleepers? Are we just kind of throwing out names?
They're like favorites. If you have a sleeper that's not in this area of the list,
Tanner McAvoy.
that's not a sleeper. It's only a sleeper if there's an actual likelihood.
Actually sleeping.
Yeah, right.
Giants need a receiver. They know.
Oh, here he
they
comes.
know him.
I'm coming.
Him and Leonte
home.
Carew can go ahead and hang out on their practice squad.
I ran into Leonte Crew Memorial Day weekend.
Oh,
Fun
did you?
fact.
All right.
He's also in your living room.
And a giant picture of
Gotcha.
Yes.
that. Anyway, that
To
was
preface it, I'm also in the picture.
big fan.
They're
So,
wearing
yeah,
tights.
We were talking about like the top 17 receivers last time, and I think we're gonna go over some more ranks. Some other guys you might want to keep your eye on later on in your drafts. Some guys who might be bumping themselves up into the wide receiver echelon. So I have wide receiver 18 right now is Tyler Boyd.
Mm.
A guy who I don't think a lot of people will like at that spot.
Mm.
I think Ricky's not a huge fan of it.
No, he's fine. It's just, again, splitting hairs, but finish what you're going to say.
He's big, he's strong, he's got solid hands, good route runner.
Sounds like every wide receiver in the NFL.
Not really. He's fun to watch, dude. Like
No, I'm
I
kidding.
love watching his tape. He runs a lot out of the slot. He can run outside.
He actually surprised me last year, stepping up when AJ was out.
Well, that's the thing. We have footage. We have game film. Like compared to Juju Smith-Schuster, where we didn't really have game film of him without
Yeah.
AB. We had Tyler Boyd with film without AJ Green, and he was good. Big red zone threat. Had 7 touchdowns, and that was his breakout year last year. And wide receiver 18 was kind of where he was last year too. I watched his film right after watching Robert Woods, and it was like watching night and day kind of players. Like it was just it was fun to watch. He's got red zone versatility. He kind of almost plays this big. Him and Cooper Kupp kind of play this almost big tight end / receiver role, big slot role. And I love watching him play. I have him at wide receiver 18. That's where he was kind of last year. I don't know if it's the fact that I was just watching Robert Woods, but he's bigger, faster, has better body control than a lot of other players. Only worry is that he took a lot of snaps out of the slot, and that was where a lot of his production was. But I've seen there were a couple of years where they played him outside at flanker and at X. So. You guys have any comments on that? Are you sad? Upset? This giant chunk of the list is the rest of the wide receiver twos. I have Tyler Boyd, Alshon Jeffrey, Kenny Galladay, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods finally, even though I shit on him the whole last time. Mm-hmm. Corey Davis and Julian.
I like
Edelman.
Corey Davis, but I was waiting for him to pop every year, and it doesn't happen.
Well, the problem last year was it's only been 2 years. And last year,
Every of those 2 years.
Mariota had an ulnar injury last year and barely could throw the ball. And then when it wasn't Mariota, it was Blaine Gabbert.
I love Blaine Gabbert.
Oh, my God.
He just keeps on trucking.
And not for nothing, like I watched Corey Davis's film, and there were a lot of games where you're going like, all right, this is good. But it's like, I don't see the pop. And then watch the New England Patriots game where he's going up against Stephon Gilmore, and he just beats him like badly, repeatedly. Like he took him to the woodshed. He made him his bitch.
Chopped them up.
He juked him. He beat him on a lot of different routes. He took it right to the house a couple of times. It was my favorite game to watch of Corey Davis was the New England Patriots game. Go back and watch it. He's beating a great corner in man coverage. He's a good corner. He's a good.
That wasn't. You couldn't hear that on the mic, but now everybody knows I said it.
He's a good corner. He's a great corner.
He's a good corner.
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley, I had him at 21.
I like Calvin Ridley a lot.
A lot.
Great route runner.
Proved himself to be the
He'll take
round
another
one
step.
pick that a lot of people didn't think he was last year.
He'll take another step this year for sure.
Absolutely. And not only that, he plays all over the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
He gets solid release off the line of scrimmage, uses his footwork, sometimes his hands, gets a lot of red zone looks. Like, oddly, like him and Tyler Boyd, I was shocked how many red zone looks they both got.
Yes.
Gets legit separation on a lot of plays. Did have a lot of drops, though. Like, he had a lot of concentration drops. Every time I'd watch, like, I was counting them every time I'd watch some of the games he was doing. And it would just be like, dude, like, where were you there? Like, why didn't you reel that in?
I think that's the rookie things that may be shaking off coming up this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I looked at him kind of like a discount Amari Cooper. Just a very good
That's
route
actually
runner.
a good. I like that comparison a lot.
Very good route runner and gets separation based off of partially his athleticism. He's a very, like, he's got a lot of good straight line speed. Good in and out of breaks. He's got legit zip and get off. Doesn't break tackles, but gets solid yard after catch with speed. Can do a lot of work with crossers. Just takes it and goes. Gets solid separation, and can run most of the route tree. Like, it doesn't have a problem with any part of the route tree.
He was real helpful for me in fantasy last year.
But yeah,
So I owe him.
he's got good. He's also got good awareness in zone coverage. Like, he will find the
He'll
open
find
spot.
that. Yep. He'll sit down when he has to.
Yeah, he's mostly a good route runner. I haven't, every once in a while run out a route here or there, and not like as smooth sometimes as you'd expect him to be. But I would say he's climbing the tree of the great, like, the good versus great route runners. And again, that was his first year. It was a rookie, and he performed very well.
It was a very promising first year for sure.
Absolutely.
I also like Kenny Galladay, and I know you do too.
Yes.
So I mean, I think he's another guy that takes another step this year for 100%.
Well, part of it is they don't have Golden Tate anymore. Yep. The other thing is
Silver Tate.
They also don't have, like, they don't really have much else there. And he got a lot more deeper, like, passes. Mm-hmm. Like, Kenny Galladay was utilized more of a, like, you're going to see this in Darrell Bevel's scheme where you saw it last year. A lot of play action, a lot of deep crossers where he's going down and getting the ball. Let's see if I have the notes on him.
Galladay. First name Kenny.
He's just big. He's good at ball. He's good at tracking the ball.
He's longer than he is big too. Like, he's just got limbs.
Well, he also uses his body to his advantage.
A lank.
He's a lank.
Strong. He gets
inventing words.
But not only that, but like, he gets so many good deep balls, especially from Matt Stafford. Like, this is a guy who
Stat Padford.
He's got a great quarterback, or a decent quarterback who you at least know is reliable as a quarterback for a wide receiver weapon. Mm-hmm. So you're not worrying about who's throwing in the ball.
Yeah, this whole group's very interesting to me, actually.
He's willing to make adjustments to the ball. I'm shocked he didn't get as much red zone work. Like, he got only 5 touchdowns last year, and I was expecting a lot more from him. And I think he also does body catch a lot. One of those big.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
He's good at tracking it over his shoulder, but he does kind of, like, he has to kind of collapse it into his chest sometimes.
Double catches it sometimes. I know it's not. I don't think his hands are as natural as some other guys, like a Stephon Diggs, where it's just effortlessly, always perfect, taking a picture, fits right in, no readjusting. I think like I said, sometimes he body catches. There are guys that are just more naturally talented hand catchers.
Yeah, and it's weird though because he also does catch away from his body sometimes, and he's shown the ability to do that, and he's shown the ability to just post up in the end zone and get vertical and extend and get the ball. So I do think he will take a step forward. I think he will be a big red zone weapon.
Yes.
I liked watching him. Again, his tape was very different than a lot of these other guys. As opposed to Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley, who got a lot of short routes and then every once in a while a deeper route. Kenny Galladay had a lot of deep routes.
Yeah.
He had compared to everybody else there except maybe, I mean, more than everybody in that group, from Tyler Boyd down to Julian Edelman from 18 to 24. All those other guys had a lot more shorter routes, except
Especially
maybe Corey
Edelman,
Davis.
Yeah, Corey Davis and Galladay are kind of in a similar category in terms of their body size, their length, and what they're good at. More like straight line down the field kind of guys.
I mean, Corey Davis, they used him on a lot of crossers and in breaking routes too. And I think it was just the scheme for Kenny Galladay is they decided that they were going to do that scheme, and he fit that scheme. we were talking about Corey Davis before, and I think I'll just bring up what my notes have on him. My thoughts that I wrote down was he shows the ability to do everything a number one wide receiver can do. He has the trust from Mariota. He can get sloppy in his routes, but also shows the ability to be a great route runner on film. Like I was saying with the New England Patriots film, he has great start and stow and start and go, and kind of also start to stop.
Speed, yeah.
Yeah, and catches away from his body really well. Has great long speed and power, and that's what makes him great. And he could do. I just wonder what he can do with a healthy QB and a very accurate QB.
Yeah.
Because with either one of those two things, if he had a healthy Mariota or an accurate quarterback, dude, I think he could be like a top 10 receiver. I just think he has, because he's also really good after the catch. He's a guy you just want to get the ball in his hands.
I remember watching his college tape and thinking, this is Terrell Owens on the field, how he plays and everything like that. I think the big difference and the concern was he didn't deal with too much press in college, but I think he's answered some of those questions this year. But I still think,
and he held up well against press.
Yes, he did, because of his sheer size, and he's not afraid to be physical and use every bit of that size. But like I said, I think he is better when he gets, kind of a free release and he's able to build and vary up his speed and, put his foot in the ground, change direction. I think their best bet, if you're a defender, is still to get up in his face. You know what I mean? Because I think he's a little bit less experienced in that, but he has showed some promise.
Julian Edelman.
Nobody gives him respect. They're always like, oh, yeah, he's good, and then he puts up numbers. People don't really draft him. I get it. Tom spreads the ball around.
No Gronk
No Gronk, though. But is he suspended again? I feel like he's suspended every year.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Well, that was the key thing with Edelman last year was he was wide receiver 20 in PPR for 2018. He was coming off an ACL tear, and he missed 4 games. So he was 16th in points per game. Yeah, I know. That was the little carrot that says, okay, maybe adjust it. That in there he was 28
Gotcha.
when I originally was doing it. So I was kind of going off of like, all right, seeing where you guys go. These notes aren't the same things that are right here.
Of course, yeah.
This sheet. We had mentioned Alshon Jeffrey in this category as well, wide receiver 21 in 2017. Didn't play 3 games then and was didn't play 3 games last year and was wide receiver 26 in 2018. And if you added the just 2 games, the average over 2 games, he would have been wide receiver 20 to wide receiver 26 to 16. If you would have averaged the 13 points per game, like if you would have averaged what he was getting over the course of the season, if you played 2 more games, he would have been wide receiver 20. If you played all 3 games, he would have been wide receiver 16.
And with him, I wonder how Carson Wentz does. I wonder how.
I think Carson Wentz will be healthier this year than he was the last year because he was coming off a multi-ligament tear in his leg. So I feel a little bit better with him going into this year. He beats he beats physical receivers. He beats physical defensive backs. He knows how to utilize his body. I mean, everything we were saying about Kenny Golladay, he's the advanced version of Kenny Golladay, just maybe not as deep speed fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think Emmanuel Sanders needs to be in this cohort.
In that 25,
in this group.
26 group.
Maybe even in the 18 to 20. I'm not sure whether he replaces Jeffrey or Boyd, but I just think that, I know your concerns with his injury. He's a little bit frailer. Listen, when I watch him play, he doesn't get tackled. He gets fucked up. Like, he gets hit hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand.
Plays at the slot.
Yes.
They also got 2 really young guys who show a lot of promise. Courtland Sutton, who I did a bit of tape study on, and Deshaun Hamilton, who I haven't gotten a chance to really get to look at the tape for him, but he also didn't have a lot.
He's a very good route runner and good solid hands. But I think the big playability right now is still Emmanuel Sanders going to be their go-to guy. Early indications in him back in camp, he's looking good. Right, he's not favoring anything. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you get concerned about being healthy, but he's always kind of jumped above his potential or whatever people projected him to get every single year, because I think they always looked at him as like the number 2 to Demaryius Thomas or whoever else was there, and then he really kind of came into his own last year when he kind of took over. Definitely helped me in fantasy in plenty of weeks, so I'm not going to speak ill of him. A lot. He's very explosive. I mean, he baptizes corners left and right, but nobody talks about it.
And again, I think for me, I just want to see that he's back to full health and that he's ready to go.
Right.
So I'll adjust as my ranks get closer to the season, that I know he's going to play, that I know he's not going to miss any games, that I know he's going to be back to full speed. again, he's coming off an Achilles tear. It's not
Yeah.
That's not a great injury to come off of for a wide receiver, especially one in his 30s.
Yeah.
Schooled.
Anybody in that top 24 range that you think belongs there, other than Emmanuel Sanders,
That I think belongs there. Oh,
in the top 20, in the wide receiver 2
right,
range?
that somebody that's not in there that
Yeah.
maybe belongs there. I would make a case for Mike Williams. I would make a case for Mike Williams just because, again, that's all projection.
Yes.
Right? We're not going off of, what did he do last year? Well, he didn't do much. So Phillip Rivers is Phillip Rivers, man.
I like watching Mike Williams. He's he's like watching an elk play football.
Yes.
He's big. He can post up really well. He's physical, can get vertical like up. Like not just vertical going downfield, but vertical like get up
Yes,
in the air and get the ball, catches away from his body. He has an occasion every once in a while to fall down on a route, but
Yeah, that's no biggie though.
I'm not saying it happens super often, but it
Here's the
happens
occasion to be a
in
little clumsy. We haven't figured out why. He just falls.
Last year he did cut himself with a can opener. So
But he uses the threat of like his
Can't
speed
put
and
stairs
his
in his
strength
house.
and his power to keep defenders off of him. He again, like I said, he looks like he's part animal. He looks like he's an elk. And he's an immense red zone weapon. We saw some red zone usage, and there were games where he basically won them the game. He's a bit faster than he gets credited for too. Like
Yes,
he gets
yes.
deep. He gets deep.
He has game speed for sure.
He has that ability to get a lot of deep balls. So he fully extends to get TD catches. I really like him. He's kind of kind of reminds me of Vincent Jackson. Even reminds me of Kenny Golladay. Like those guys
Yeah.
are all in that kind of same tier of type of player. I just don't know how they're going to utilize him. I don't know what the situations is with that team. I have him currently at wide receiver 30, and I think it's just because wide receiver is very clouded, right? And you have guys there. It's like, do you drop Larry Fitzgerald further? Do you drop Marvin Jones further? Maybe you drop Marvin Jones. Maybe you don't think he's going to have a good year. Maybe Allen Robinson.
I think Mike Williams is a really good, like if you had a wide receiver 3 in that like RB wide receiver cat flex position.
Yeah.
yep.
For sure. Does he have the potential to be higher? Yeah, but I think
Can he break into the wide receiver 2 category? Maybe, because to be honest, that team doesn't have much. It has Keenan Allen. It might not have Melvin Gordon. And maybe Travis Benjamin.
well, he will be a wide receiver 2 for a lot of people, depending upon their draft strategy. But I think if you're sitting there with a wide receiver 3 of a Mike Williams, you got a pretty strong team.
Yeah, I agree. That starts out. It's the part of the next tier of players that I'm still working on the order for them, where it's Mike Williams, Allen Robinson, Marvin Jones, Larry Fitzgerald, Chris Godwin, Tyler Lockett, and again Tyler Lockett, guy who everybody was waiting to pop for the last like 3 or 4 years, and just insane athlete.
Insane athlete. Problem with him,
and they scheme to get the ball in his hands.
yeah, yes.
And watching him, the thing that he does well is he is fast.
He has like
quick,
he's kind of like
and he'll make you miss.
I agree. They almost use him, I would say a little bit less than like maybe the Chiefs, but in a similar role, the Chiefs use Tyreek Hill. You know, they have all these other weapons, and then, you know, I remember a couple times last year, like, he'd have 3 catches, but it would be for, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know what I mean? He wouldn't get that many targets, but they'd have plays in the playbook specifically for those to happen, and they'd execute very well. So you were guaranteed that one of those, he was going to get a big play in every single game.
I think this is also where we could see towards the end of the year, as far as like 24 through 30, one of these rookie wide receivers make a who's gonna have a big year.
Of the rookies, you know what my guess actually kind of is A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. Because I think he's going to play the role that people think T.J. Humphries is going to play. I think he's going to be a late bloomer. I think he's of the rookie guys. I think that's the guy who I kind of like. I liked A.J. Brown coming out of college, and I don't have him high on my list of guys because rookies. You're better off waiting. I think Paris Campbell's another guy in the Colts that got drafted. Can play out of the slot. I think T.Y. Hilton's gonna take a lot of coverage from him. Just rip the top off the defense, and don't say Devin Funchess because I don't like Devin Funchess as a player.
No. Who's going to say Devin Funchess? N'Keal Harry.
You're talking about on the Patriots.
Yeah.
Listen. You never know. But I also don't.
Marquise Brown. Baltimore.
two major issues with Marquise Brown. One is coming off a Liz Frank injury.
Hollywood.
And who's throwing to him?
Huh?
Who's throwing to him?
Lamar Jackson.
And
No. He's throwing to the dirt.
I mean, listen.
Let's get Shane back on here to talk about Lamar Jackson.
And you got the other guy, too.
And the way he throws the ball, he's not good.
Tyler Lockett. When Tyler Lockett's covered, who's the ball going to?
Tyler Lockett's fucking quick, and like I said, they will.
who's
Oh,
the
you're
ball-
talking about DK Metcalf?
There's another guy that we have to talk about. I feel like we. I mean, maybe not this early.
I know he's not going to be going in the top 40.
No, these guys aren't going to go there. But these are guys potentially.
He's not a guy who I would take in the top 40.
No, but these
No.
are
But
these
he-
are guys that could wind up. You know.
When we did the draft preview, the thing I said about him is he could be a Julio Jones. That's his ceiling.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think anyone debates that's his ceiling. He's not as buttoned up as him. He doesn't have everything on tape. Like there was no doubt about what Julio Jones was going to be when he was coming out. But with the skill set that DK has, the size, I mean, it only makes sense that if he puts everything together, that's how good he can be. But again, that's a big if.
Yeah. Chris Godwin, man, now going to be playing a lot of downs in Tampa Bay, and I don't love Jameis Winston, right?
Oh, really?
No, I don't know if you've heard. I'm not part of his fan club anymore. I never was, but
Yeah, I was going to say, hold on.
never had the card. But I do like Chris Godwin. I am a big Chris Godwin fan. He was wide receiver 27 last year, so to think that he's going to take a step forward as in his third year in the NFL is probably not that big of a shock.
No, I think where you have him makes a lot of sense.
I just don't think that team overall production is going to take a step forward. So I don't necessarily think that Godwin will take a step forward.
Well, just because the team itself won't take a step forward doesn't mean you won't see some kind of production. I can see him getting something because he can play all over the formation.
I'm just thinking about what Tampa
He's got
Bay
solid
did.
hands. He's good outside. He handles press really well. He's physical. He adjusts to the ball. He's smooth in and out of breaks. He's got good long speed. Can high point the ball. Very decent vertical.
With him, I'm just thinking what the Bucks did in the first 2, 3, 4 weeks. They're just not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about it.
But they also don't have Deshaun Jackson. Like he's gonna be like. I still think he's good enough where maybe they're not going to win any games. I honestly don't know if they're going to win anything. Like I don't think they're going to be winning that many games. I don't have them as a favorite, but
I just don't see
think
production coming out of that team that actually came out of last year. I just think a lot of the numbers that came to all of those players on the Bucks last year were like a majority in the first 4 weeks. Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing like 600 yards.
Yeah, classic.
7 touchdowns.
Classic Ryan
well,
Fitzpatrick.
Godwin got a lot of his points on touchdowns and being in the end
That's what I'm
zone
saying,
and
like-
posting up. But he also played well at the end of the year too.
Yeah. Another guy you have on this list, and I don't mean to jump away too much, but like I'm kind of intrigued by Dante Pettis.
He's a big sleeper talker this year coming up. I've seen a lot of other podcasts, a lot of YouTube channels talking about Dante Pettis.
Well, I think you're getting you're getting your quarterback back. I think that's
Yes.
number one.
And he played really well last year. And he's a good route runner. I'm going to pull up the...
Talk about teams taking a step forward. I think they have to take a step forward.
They kind of... Or they're going to have to get rid of their coach and manager. 'Cause
Right.
There's not... He's a great route runner, though. We're talking about Dante Pettis. He's got...
San Francisco, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, if you get your quarterback back, that's supposed to be your quarterback.
He reminds me a
That
lot...
means you have to take a step forward, right?
You'd hope, right?
But yeah, I mean, just logically speaking.
And not for nothing, like I think Jimmy Garoppolo showed that he can do something really well.
He's good. He'll
And
be
he
fine.
shows a handle over the offense. So if you think that Jimmy Garoppolo is... Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo can handle that offense better than Matt Ryan did?
Yeah.
So right there, you have that potential for that offense to really take off.
I have almost no
running.
concerns about him. I really do. I really have almost no concerns about Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'm surprised that backup didn't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Which one?
Nick
CJ
Mullins?
Beathard or... Oh, I don't think Mullins is going anywhere.
Mullins, that's what I'm saying.
They were both, but they both played, I think, above what they were expected
That's
to
what
play.
I'm saying. I think Mullins,
Beathard was kind of
Which
trash.
kind of-
Beathard was trash.
How many people expected Beathard
And
to
also, I watched Dante Pettis' tape. Both of them were kind of meh.
be... Just saying.
Mullins was better than Beathard.
Mullins is also Mullins. I think he works in this building. Mullins, like, who is that guy? He
right, do you
played
wanna-
well.
oh,
I get it.
You
This
want
is
to
a
get
wide
back to
receiver.
Dante Pettis? Yeah.
But my point is, yes, Dante Pettis, he'll have a more, obviously a much better
Well, he's a good route
quarterback.
runner. He's solid with his hands. It kind of reminds me of Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I can see that as a
He's able to play outside and inside. He's good at getting open, feeling zones. is good at waving down the QB when he is open. He had a couple of good touchdowns last year.
Waving skills.
Well, not
Call
for
for the
nothing.
ball
That's
in
what
Madden.
Thielen did
this
really
guy's
well when he played with Case
He's got the
Keenum.
wave of Princess Diana. He's so visible
He
in
really
the wave.
projects when he speaks.
I mean,
He's got a
even says-
booming voice.
Hello, I am open.
Some would say the UFC we're going to have him replace Bruce Buffer. All right, let's get back to
He's quick in and out of breaks, very smooth. It reminds me, like I said, what he did with Nick Mullins is very impressive. He was injured for a lot of the season, though. And that's something you might have to keep in mind if you are drafting him, was that he was injured for a chunk of that season.
Yeah.
And
I don't care.
I have it in my notes twice that he basically juked a defensive back out of his underwear with just his route running ability. Just his ability to just kind of, like with a stutter step and go in and make another break. Totally, like, the defensive back's on the other side of the field now. Like, didn't know where he was going. It's like all of a sudden somebody waved a wand in his face. And
Direction change.
Did the defensive back play for the Jets? I'm kidding. All right.
I actually probably have it on here.
Courtland Sutton.
Let's talk about another Bronco.
Name dropped him last time. No, he's big. He's physical. He's so strong for his size. And this guy would have had I can't even tell you the amount of touchdowns he had called back I watched happen.
Last year, though?
All right. What do you mean?
Last.
Because of a stupid holding
Not
penalty
last year, not
by
last year.
Bowles. Okay. Sutton.
Last episode, what I'm trying to say is last episode we said we grade
10 minutes
wide
ago?
We grade wide receivers on stuff that they can't control.
This
Who's
is
his
a good fit
quarterback?
for. This is a good. Okay, I am not a Flacco fan. I've been on the record saying that.
On my list, which is 41.
Correct, but I think he's a good fit for what Flacco can do, and that's launch the ball deep, high. He throws the ball high to people. He's got a little bit of Brock Osweiler syndrome to him, but I think that this fits what he does best. I mean, if you were gonna have a receiver, be a receiver for Joe Flacco, it would be someone like Courtland Sutton.
Yeah. Well, and what I have written in my notes as far as my thoughts of this player is he's big, he's good on the outside, gets solid separation on deep routes. Not the best route runner, but uses his body to his advantage.
Yeah.
And has shown progress in the ability to be the true number one receiver for a team. He catches well, has good body control, and he reminds me like a little bit of Devontae Parker, but like when Devontae Parker's done something good. Mm-hmm. Like the few times he has done something good, the good reps of Devontae Parker.
He does remind me of Devontae Parker.
He looks.
You
like
know what?
him.
Now
He's
I'm
kinda
starting to
built like
rethink.
him.
He does look like him. He is a similar build. Yes, he's not as thick as some of the other thick wide receivers, but he uses his strength very well.
And Courtland Sutton was actually a favorite of mine to watch the tape of, and that not for nothing. Last year when I was watching Juju Smith-Schuster's tape, that was what made me like Juju Smith-Schuster was watching his tape. So this year around, I'm looking at stuff and I go, well, the guys who are the most fun to watch are often the guys who are really good players, right?
Yep.
So another guy who I thought, there was two other guys who I thought were really fun to watch. I had Tyler Boyd, he's really high on the list. Corey Davis had a couple of those games, but he wasn't as consistent. DJ Moore and Anthony Miller.
Well, they're exciting. They're explosive players, especially DJ Moore.
Oh yeah. Well, DJ Moore's physical. The fun part with him, he's not necessarily the best route runner, but dude, he will beat the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
It was a joy to watch him. Sometimes when you're watching some of these guys, it's very dull. Like I think sometimes I compare them to all of them to
Devontae Adams is dull.
No, he's not. Devontae Adams is fun to watch.
He's dull.
He's great at what he does.
He's good. It's fine. It's dull. Doesn't do anything for me. No
He's-
pizzazz. No
I'm just
pizzazz.
laughing.
There's not many defensive backs that are going to push DJ Moore around. He's good. He's got great contact balance. He's like a running back playing receiver. Like I would say he's Kareem Hunt or Alvin Kamara as a wide receiver. He's got good run after the catch ability, but like a running back. Like he will break tackles. He'll bowl over guys. He just finds a way to keep going. He's the tough guy. He's like a dog, right? I wrote, like, if you look at some, I know some of these guys have like a paragraph. This guy's got two.
So I'm just giggling a little bit because I was just imagining you being like an actual like rookie NFL scout and like some coach reading your notes. Just like good waving abilities like a dog.
And we'll beat the fuck out of you.
He will beat the fuck out of you. Now go coach him.
Dude, he's
He's
great.
a nice guy. That's not what we're trying to say. He speaks softly, carries a big stick. That's what we're trying to get at.
What I'm
here.
saying
could
is he's
fight,
good at getting
he
off
needed
the
to.
line of scrimmage. He tends to they use him as a gadget. Like, they will get him the ball. That's another thing is you want to look at the teams who want to get the player the ball. They do, I said that before with Tyler Lockett. They do that with DJ Moore. They will force him the ball, use him almost like another running back.
Word.
He makes guys miss or have to hit him twice, runs the same routes multiple plays in a row a lot of the time, hitches and slants. And I don't know if that's because of the playbook being limited or it's that he's limited. But I think he is able to, but they use him in more complex ways. Like, they use him in a shuttle pass, they use him in non-running roles, like a gimmick play. He's, like I said, he's the wide receiver version of, like, Alvin Kamara and Kareem Hunt. He never goes down on first contact.
Yeah, great body control.
So, the other guy who I liked watching was Anthony Miller.
Yep.
And he had the same thing about the run after catch ability, but his is more speed. And he's another guy that they schemed the ball for. Like, actually, when you watch the tape last year, there's two guys that the Chicago Bears have at wide receiver that everybody knows. Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson. Mm-hmm. Allen Robinson played more of a big slot role here than he did when he was in Jacksonville. In fact, when he was in Jacksonville, he played on the outside, and he played way more on the inside and almost played like played like a move tight end in Chicago. Well, Anthony Miller is the guy who, as you see them continue to go throughout the year, they like using him. He's fast. He's quick. They like getting the ball in his hands. I was talking about before, run after the catch ability. Like, where's the? Here it is.
Where's the Bible?
The Bible. He reminds me of Stephon Diggs a lot of the time. He's very, very good route runner, smooth in and out of breaks, tricks the defender with subtlety, gets up and grabs the ball away from his body. My biggest worry with him is the guy who's throwing him the ball. If he was on a better team, if he had, say, Baker Mayfield throwing him the ball.
This is the thing, though, I will say about the two, Anthony Miller and Robinson being on the Bears. That offense is going to be on the field a lot.
Yeah, because they have a good defense. But they are losing their defense. They lost their defensive coordinator.
Yeah, they did.
Did he go to the Broncos?
Yeah, he's their
Yeah,
head
he's
coach.
the dude. Come on.
Oh, good.
He
NFC North and AFC West abilities just.
and like I said, they scheme him the ball. They'll throw him a wheel route out of the backfield, and they utilize him in the red zone. Like I said, he'll go up and get the ball. He gets vertical like Stephon Diggs. Everything I saw from him, I see from Stephon Diggs. And it's not just that he is fast; he will break a tackle. There was the week 10. He went up and got the ball on a 45-yard touchdown. He broke a tackle, and he constantly has these good games. And I love watching. Another guy who's fun to watch.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys that's slowly coming along, and I think he might pop this year.
Again, like, my biggest worry with him is the guy who's throwing him the ball.
I think we have to give him a little bit more credit. I'm not a huge fan of his. I wasn't coming out. I'm not going to pretend like I'm jumping on the bandwagon now, but I think he's played above what we expected him to be.
Chicago.
I don't know.
Would they have like the 9th pick in the draft?
I don't know.
They made the playoffs. What are you talking about?
The Bears.
Yeah, the Bears. They made it.
I'm saying, so like he didn't have like a horrible year. Like not a lot of people like Trubinsky and like
Wojo.
But they had a very good. They had a very good defense.
Yeah.
Correct.
Also the coach is really good at scheming up plays. And like I said, I don't disagree. Like, I don't think that, like, but there were a lot of plays where I'm watching Anthony Miller is getting overthrown by a mile. Same thing with Allen Robinson. So there'll be balls that just go up in the air and then hit the dirt. Like, who are you throwing them to? Mm-hmm. Like a guy who's 17 feet tall?
Yeah.
And
Now that'd be a wide receiver.
All right.
A real giant.
Yeah.
So, are we good with like what's left? Do you have anyone else that you want to talk about?
Well, are there any guys you have questions on?
I'm good. Ricky?
Because I also a couple of guys who I do like.
I do like Kiki QT. PPR leagues, I think he'll be helpful. However, with the return of Fuller, you don't know how much
That's the thing.
targets he's going to get.
I have him a bit lower than that. I have him in that 50s and 60s range of guys, and that's a range of players where you as you get closer to when you draft, you start to funnel them out and see the guys that you really like.
Some of these waiver wire picks, like you're looking at Callaway is a good player, but he's number 3.
Maybe he's 4. on that team.
Might be 4. You're right. I mean, you are a little high on Higgins, but I mean,
That's where you got to start prioritizing depth chart position
Yeah.
over ability.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, and this is the thing I tried to avoid doing, but like Robbie Anderson is going to have a lot of these guys beat.
Well, Robbie Anderson's wide receiver 33 on my list.
And
We didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you have him a little low, just because of he's going to be on wide receiver 1 on a team that's going to be passing a lot this year.
and Darnold's legit.
My
think
only
he's
worry
legit.
with him is that I don't know what else is there. I also just like the other players who I have ahead of him, and he might move up more as we get closer. Like Sterling Shepard broke his thumb.
Yeah.
If Emmanuel Sanders doesn't really show up, or he just ends up not being able to play, there's ways that guys will move up the list. But this is kind of like the initial ranks of how I'm looking at guys and where I want to take them. And not for nothing, like Robbie Anderson does a couple of things really good, but he's not like a true
He's
number
not a
one.
complete receiver. I think
Yeah.
he's just kind of in the
Yeah.
one. He's a big play guy, though.
Yeah.
And if you ever want, to put your best foot forward in terms of giving an argument for Robbie Anderson, I mean, I know I talk about the Broncos all the time, but you put on the tape against Denver and what he did to Bradley Roby over and over and over again. I mean, if you really want, something to back up your argument for both Darnold and Robbie Anderson, I mean, that is them at their best.
And I also think that Robbie Anderson was covered like a rug last year too, because there really wasn't anything else going on.
And that's.
But is there anything else there right now?
Yeah, you got Quincy Enunwa coming back. You got Jameson
Quincy's-
Crowder. You got Le'Veon Bell coming out of the backfield. You got Chris Herndon, although he's suspended, but coming back.
I like him.
Better. You got
I
Sam
like
Darnold
Herndon, too.
Sam Darnold in his sophomore on his way up. I think there's a lot more things.
That's what I'm saying, though. I think that like as Darnold gets more comfortable and gets better, we know he has the arm talent, right?
And now he's
So
just got weapons.
and we've seen where he can put the ball and.
But now he
Roby
might
had
throw those
perfect
other weapons too.
Maybe, but Roby had perfect coverage. My point is, like, we were talking about him getting covered and he was getting blanketed and all this other stuff. Darnold will get him the ball. So there are things outside your control that can hurt you, and there's things outside your control that can help you.
Yeah.
When your quarterback reaches the level we think that he can or that he will, right? That's going to boost everyone that's his wide receiver.
Yeah.
And Robbie's the number one
and
guy.
like I said, Robbie Anderson, I have him at 33. I don't see anybody in the top 24 who I'd take him over necessarily.
Top 24, no.
no.
So
But you got him at 33.
33. So then there's maybe 5 or 6 guys, maybe 7 guys that like.
I mean, even without the injury, you put Sterling Shepard in front of him.
Well, no, Sterling Shepard is again. A lot of these are still placeholders.
All right.
Well, at this point, when you between 32 and 33 is at the bottom of the list, it's not.
Once you're past the wide receiver 2 category, it's kind of like, all right, when are you? That's usually around the time you're in round 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
And you're looking at guys who, hey, is this guy going to pop? Is this guy got a chance to be a wide receiver 1? Can this guy be back at least a wide receiver 2 category?
That's usually around the time
Yeah.
Yanucci drafts Lance Kendricks.
2 other guys I really do want to talk about, D.D. Westbrook and Cooper Kupp.
Oh, I forgot about both of them. They were on my team, or Cooper was on my team 2 years ago, and Dede was on my team last year. I like him, but I don't have anything to say about him.
Cooper Kupp, man, is his wide receiver 25 in 2017. He plays like almost like a big slot / like fast tight end role.
Mm-hmm.
His speed is like he's quicker than he's expected to be, and he really builds up speed too as he gets downhill.
Yeah. Well, I think he's good at maintaining that speed. I think he's a really like a 4.6 guy, but he's really good at maintaining it on long routes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like
He also becomes a bulldozer. Like that's what I'm saying. He's actually kind of like a big tight end. He's like a quick tight end. He's and again, like I said, athletic slot, gets going like a freight train. It's a lot, and also what they do is they match him up against linebackers. What they do is they almost kind of use him like a tight end. He'll be in there blocking, and then he'll eke out the backfield, and he'll go ahead and take a flat or a slant route and just go and take it, 15, 20 yards. And taking him down is hard.
Yeah.
So he gets matched up on linebackers a lot of the time, just the way their scheme works. Because what they'll do is they'll have 11 personnel, but they'll basically be using him like a tight end,
Right.
And they'll have one of their tight ends flexed out.
Yeah. And then when like Dede, they kind of use him more like a gadget player. Like, they might use a Curtis Samuel, or they might use even Tavon Austin when they were trying to get him to be a thing.
Yeah.
He's he does the slot stuff, but then they also have special plays specifically designed to get DD the ball because he is a playmaker. Now, his inconsistency is what concerns me. You know, I had him on the bench every week he shouldn't have been. So I was off by
What was
1
that,
week.
last year or 2 years ago?
I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But the point, was it last year? It might have been last year. I think I had him last year. So I had him starting, and he get put up 1 point. I benched him. He put up 20 points. I started him. He put up 3.
Well, last year he was averaging 19 points a game when he was healthy.
Right. Well, that
And he was on pace for being one of the highest scoring receivers.
and he was on my bench for every one of those games that put him over the edge. And when I did start him, he was putting up 4 points. I think I dropped him. I picked him back up. I think there was a few.
I think you're talking about 2 years ago then.
Maybe is it 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
I'm thinking you're thinking 2 years ago.
I don't know. It feels like last year.
We good?
Last guy I wanted to talk about was
one more.
DD.
DD.
Are there any guys that you guys wanted to talk about? Anybody on the list that you kind of wanted to move around? Anybody who you really had big questions on?
I just want to do a quick fire round. I got a quick fire round for the two of you when you guys are done.
All right, because
DD.
D.D. Westbrook, dude, that guy, he's fast. And he's another guy who, A, was fun to watch, and B, the team gets him the ball. And they find ways, they'll use him as a running back, they'll get him on a jet sweep motion, we'll get 12 yards. He's a guy who, he reminds me a lot of Tyreek Hill. If he had a good quarterback, if he was on a different team, he would be, like, we'd be talking about him as a top 15 guy, top 20 guy. But because of where he is, what team he's on, and I don't know how you feel about Nick Foles, but I don't know if I feel super comfortable with a guy who's playing with Nick Foles.
I feel better.
I feel better than when he was playing with Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
Shots fired. He fell in the draft because of off the field issues. So he's an extreme athlete. You get him the ball in motion. You see him play outside. He lines up mostly in the slot, but he can play all over the formation, like I've said with a few guys. But they really like getting him moving, and that will set the defense on their heels. And he's a thick dude. He's like a thick Tyreek Hill. He's got wheels. Great on crossers. If you kind of just get him a little bit of a leading run at it, he could take it to the house, and he's done that a few times. And he gets a lot of end arounds. Again, like I said, they utilize him a lot. I could see them utilizing him more. And with Nick Foles, I could see him benefiting from Nick Foles being there. I could see DiFilippo trying to utilize him in a different way.
I think he's
the best receiver on that offense by a long shot. And I think there's a lot of capability for him to jump up. I have him at wide receiver 34. I could
jump up, a hell of a lot.
Oh yeah, and I kind of like him above Robbie Anderson. I don't know. Cooper Kupp's at 35 because of the injury risk, because of him coming off an ACL. You don't know how he's gonna really adjust to that. I don't see anybody else that was really particular that I intended to really talk about, to be honest. Zay Jones was maybe the one last guy that I didn't talk about. But, the main problem with Zay Jones is I just don't trust his quarterback.
Nope.
But he's a quick receiver with solid route running technique, can play inside and outside. Team likes using him. He's a focal point of the offense, and they try to get him the ball. And his QB overthrows him more than anybody I've ever seen. Honestly, Josh Allen is Blake Bortles 2.0.
Yeah, and especially in how much you don't like him.
Yeah, and he gets a lot of red zone looks, and that will count for something hopefully eventually. Very crisp, very good route runner. I don't know. Is there anybody else here that you guys had major questions on?
Major questions? No. I mean, Demaryius Thomas, would be interested to see what happens with him with New England. I would just say that. They seem like they always have something up their sleeves, but who knows? Maybe he gets cut next month. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so if I have your permission, I want to do a quick fire round. I want quick answers. Predictions for 4 categories. All right? We're going to start with Woj. Who's going to be the top sleeper this year?
In wide receiver?
Wide receivers.
Define sleeper though.
Sleeper. Guy who
10th round, 6th round, 11th round.
Yeah, like late round.
Because you could say Corey. I guess Corey Davis isn't really a sleeper if he's
late
wide receiver
rounds.
1.
Late rounds. You're drafting them to your bench. You wind up starting them almost every game for the end of the year. Someone that comes out of nowhere.
would any of the guys that we just talked about be included in that?
This is
top
the
40
slowest
range?
quick fire round ever.
Because
No,
No.
no.
It's a slow burn.
okay, so guys who just like came out like aren't even on this list of guys that I talked about.
Last year would a good one would be MVS.
I wouldn't even say that he was a sleeper last year, but with that kind of idea, I would probably, when we were talking before about AJ Brown, Debo Samuel, guys who are rookies,
There you
Paris Campbell.
go. That takes away my next question. Ricky, do you have like a number one sleeper?
I mean, Deshaun Hamilton. If Sanders gets hurt, he's going to fill that role. I mean, that's where he could be a sleeper that jumps up, puts
There
up
you
big
go.
numbers if that happens.
All right, number one rookie receiver.
Terry McLaurin. Hold on one second. Terry McLaurin. That was the one I wanted to bring
There's
up.
Nikhil Harry.
Terry McLaurin, man, because first off, he's playing on the Redskins, but he's playing with a guy who he played with in college.
Okay.
Great route runner. Fast as fuck.
All right.
That's the rookie that I would want to grab. That like
No,
I think and is a
sleeper.
Well, I think he's a sleeper.
Okay. Number one rookie wide receiver at the end of the year.
AJ Brown.
Nikhil Harry.
Okay. Number one sophomore receiver.
Deion Kane.
Seriously, end of the year, number one sophomore wide receiver.
Guys in their second year, so that would be guys like Michael Gallup, Anthony Miller,
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley.
I think it's Ridley.
Anthony Miller, right?
You made such a case for him. You can't not pick him now.
Well, either him or DJ Moore, right?
Yeah, that's true. You made a case for both. See, you like too many people.
Christian Kirk.
Captain Kirk is not involved in that.
I don't think I don't think the head coach cares about Kirk, to be honest.
Well, that's a great reason.
Like Cliff Kingsbury comes in and they drafted how many receivers?
That's true.
So I
One of
don't
them's
know if
gotta
he's
hit.
in the game plan, to be honest.
All right, so we'll just jump to my last one. Overall, no matter what year they are, what about the number one most improved receiver?
Most improved.
Most improved. So last year to this year, let's not count any injury-ridden guys. So not saying like they had
Like they were out because of an injury, but we know
Yeah,
they're good.
yeah.
Like AJ Green or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most improved. That's
such a category.
well, okay, because what I'm thinking of is someone like Demaryius Thomas, but he was hurt.
Yeah.
But then he got traded a lot, and he's been on a decline.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost think like the biggest improvement might be him, though. Like I don't know that he was. It's not like he was a great receiver when he got hurt. You know what I mean? Like I think, and then he got traded. I don't think his production necessarily went down because of that. I think he just had a down year. You know what I mean? I think but I think with this new system, he could jump back up to a real.
I mean, he was almost every other year he's been in the
Right.
league. He's like every year he's been fantasy relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that one's a different fact because, like I said, he moved around. He
Yeah.
did get hurt. And,
I think for me,
Go ahead.
sophomore receiver is going to end up being
well, no.
Anthony Miller.
Oh, he still hasn't answered that.
And as far as most improved,
It's hard because I always think about the ones that got hurt.
yeah, like that's the
I
hard-
even tricked myself because I was like, Quincy Enunwa, but then he was hurt. That's why he wasn't there.
Courtland Sutton.
Maybe Dante Pettis.
I was actually going to go with Corey Davis. So
Okay.
I think he might.
I think
might-
Corey Davis is a good one because
Yeah.
Corey Davis, like I said before, he had games where he looked like a number one receiver. He also had games where he looked like he was starting to take time off, and he wasn't as into it because of Mariota
throwing-
having the
Who's throwing him the
injury.
ball? Yep.
Yeah, Mariota and Gabbert being who they were at the time.
Yep.
So
That was fun.
Mariota.
Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Pidgeotto.
who will be playing in the Canadian League next year.
Who'll be playing in the Canadian League?
No, I said Marcus Mariota, who will be playing with the Canadians next year.
No. I don't know why Kaepernick hasn't played. CFL's getting interesting. There's a lot of players in there. I was just because I still haven't unfollowed some ex-Jets, and Lorenzo Molden, remember him? He's playing for the Stampeders, and he was posting some videos from his game last night. And there's a guy who literally was wearing a Joker in face paint last night, and the guy literally got 3 interceptions and 4 sacks. The guy went off the hook. So
Yeah. Well,
Johnny Manziel, what happened to that? telling you, CFL was pretty cool.
All right, now we're going down a CFL rabbit
Anyway, so yeah, we should probably wrap this up. Unless
Yeah.
you guys have any particular things you want to talk about regarding these lists or any last minute players that you want to bring up.
No, but how many lists are you got left? What's left here?
I think this kind of rounds it out. I'm
rounds
going
it
to
out.
release my finalized ranks on all these.
Did you do tight ends?
We did tight ends a few.
that was what, a 5-minute
Sorry.
episode.
Quarterbacks?
Yes.
Okay.
He was on that
I was on
episode.
that one.
Oh, all right.
Thanks for being a fan of the show, dude.
Sorry, missed the week. I was in the Bahamas.
That might have been when you were in the Bahamas.
It was. That's
Oh.
the only time I didn't listen to the podcast because it wouldn't download. Which means that if you are here in the U.S., you should be listening to every podcast.
However, if you're in the Bahamas, it might not be possible. He's not international yet.
People in other countries don't have this ability. Take full advantage of your American right to listen to Draftvice.
So yeah, subscribe to the podcast on both Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, anything you could subscribe to podcasts on. Like the podcast, rate it, leave a review, leave a 5-star review.
Couple comments.
Say that you want Steve to come back. What's with your little thing that you were drawing?
I was drawing a map of my most underrated wide receivers.
So
starting to be-
I'm not sure if that was
Are you
intentional.
going to share that with the rest of the class, or was that just for yourself?
No, it's just like, Robbie Anderson's at the top of the tip. And along with Robinson, the base of the head.
Ngakwe sounds like something that's in your.
No, that's not Ngakwe. That's Aguilar, but I always call him
Nelson Aguilarius?
I call him
The
Agahor.
handwriting says Ngakwe.
No, look, it's Agahor. I always call him Agahor.
You
Okay.
can follow the podcast at Draftvice on Twitter, at Draftvice_football on Instagram. You can follow me at Brojo Death Punch. That's BROJO. Death is in the end of life, and punch, which is delicious.
Yeah, you went the drink route. I like it.
Unless
And you can follow Steve home. Also, you can follow him at Pums142. And I don't know, Ricky, do you have anything you want them to follow you on?
No, I mean, this is no.
if you see Ricky driving, just kind of creepily follow him. Especially if you have like a motorcycle.
If I'm wearing this shirt, you should be able to find me.
Follow him on Facebook.
And he will be because it's the only shirt he wears.
Yes.
This has been fun. Have a good night.
We're on to
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
about the past and about the future.